Guess what? It's me again. All right, chapter 11. Chapter 11 is human resource management. Human resource management. Those of you interested in human resources, this is your chapter. Human resources can be very interesting. Based on the slide you see, it is defined as all actions an organization takes to attract, develop, and retain quality employees. Notice the focus of HR is not making sure you know the law. You have to know the law, but it's making sure you retain quality employees. So if I ask you on the test, the focus of HR, the focus is retaining quality employees. That's the focus in that regard. You do everything based on the company's strategic plan. What does that mean? We look 5 to 10 years into the future. So we don't hire people based on what they can do right now, but not only right now, but what they plan to do in the future. So we have to be mindful of that. The human resource process pretty much, it starts with the strategic plan and it ends with developing crucial employees or the best employees. Strategic plan, then you do job analysis, forecasting, recruiting, selecting, and developing. You read all that in the book. My focus is firstly on this concept of what we call intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. When we talk about human resource management, it's all about, remember, retaining quality employees. That means we have to learn how to relate to them intrinsically. We want them to feel that they're doing a great job. We want them to have pride in their work. So all of that depends on how engaged they are based on chapter 10, how motivated they are, chapter 10, but also how we pay them. That's going to be chapter 11, how we treat them according to the law without any unfair treatment, things of that nature. All of that's chapter 11. So this is what I would call the structure of treating people right. Chapter 11 is the structure of treating people right. And this concept of intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic means when I do something, I feel good about what I do. I feel good in the environment. I feel like I am in what we call a safe space. Extrinsic means I have to give you stuff to get you to work hard. Remember, think about theory X. I have to give you stuff to get you to work hard. So that's not the model we want to produce. Now, what are our main challenges in HR? Number one, shortage of what we call trained workers, people with the education, people with the experience, people that want to do a great job. Workplace relationships, because of social media, things of that nature, is becoming more and more difficult to get people to do their job without being how should I say, distracted by outside sources. There's the shift between employees' attitudes towards work. Right now, people don't want to work hard. Are you one of those people? That's one of your assignments. Make sure you work hard and then decrease employee loyalty, because people have way more options in where they can work. Usually they aren't loyal to one job for a long period of time. There are some human resource laws I think you should be mindful of. I'm not going to go in detail for these, but make sure on the test you know them, because I'm going to ask you all of them. The Human Civil Rights Act of 1964, number one. The Age Discrimination Act of Employment Act of 1967. The Equal Opportunity Act of 1972. The American with Disabilities Act of 1990. And then the Civil Rights Act of 1991. What is the biggest thing I want you to remember about all these laws? Watch what you say. For instance, I'll give you a short story. When we talk about the Age Discrimination Act, there was a newspaper here in Houston who put out an ad for a stripper. The stripper tryouts came, and the 60-year-old lady showed up. They were like, "Oh, you too old to try for this job." Problem? What's the problem? The problem is they said you are too old to apply, but it was not in the job description that there was an age requirement. So therefore, when they told her she was too old, that was a violation of the Age Act, right? The Age Discrimination Act. You know what happened? She walked away with $60,000 because of what you say. Think about those things. When you say things like, all I do is want to work with black people, I don't want to hire nobody else, that kind of stuff can get you sued. So be very careful what you say when it comes to HR. Selecting people, there are 5 steps in the selection process: application, testing, interview, exam, and the final decision. Here's the thing I want you to know. Most discrimination happens in the application stage. You know why? Because they see your name. Usually when you see the name Jerome, what do you think? Usually African American. If you see the name Jorge, what do you think? Usually Mexican or Hispanic descent. When you see Nguyen as the last name, Nguyen, what do you think? You usually think Korean or Filipino, whatever the case may be. Those are things you have to be mindful of. And that's where a lot of discrimination happens. Can a black girl be discriminated because of her name? Yes, she can. And there are cases about that. So we want to be mindful. Names do matter. So be mindful of that and do not move or disqualify anybody because of that. Now, at the interview, that's where it's the interaction between the company and the person. Usually in an interview, the question is, are you a good fit for the company? Are you a good fit? It's not about are you qualified. Through the application, through the test, we know you're qualified. The interview says, will you fit well in this organization? Does everybody fit in the same organization? No. Can you date anybody just because they meet 1 or 2 or 3 dry requirements? No. That's not the way it works. Then you put people through exams and checks, especially for technical jobs, and then you make a final decision. After you make that final decision, guess what it's all about? About that money, baby, about that money. So there are several ways you can pay people. Number one, a salary. This is when you have fixed compensation, usually either weekly or bi-weekly. Some people once a month. Hourly wage, where you get paid based on the number of hours you work. Piecework based on the number of hours you produce. When you think about piecework, think about like a handyman, or think about like a barbershop. You get cut, every head you cut, you get paid. So it's not like you just get paid $10 an hour. Most barbershops use what we call piecework. Commission, you get a percentage of sales. Think of car salesmen, people of that nature. And then the book says bonus, but I kind of disagree with that because I don't think bonus is a way to pay people. It is a way to kind of reward people, but not directly to pay people. So remember, the best usually is salary, because you get guaranteed it's best for the economy. When people have salary jobs, usually you get better credit ratings, things of that nature. When you have a job, commission is what we call the hardest. This is real estate. This is car sales, things of that nature. So usually if you're on commission, it's hard work. Can there be a combination of multiple types? Yes, there can be. There can be a combination of multiple types. So we want to be mindful of that. Well, what happens if you don't have the money to hire people? We hire what we call contingent workers. Contingent workers, this is the term. This is people who don't expect full-time employment, and you usually use them when business demand is high, or somebody's out on leave, or when quick service to a customer is a priority. Think about seasonal workers at the mall. Any of you have ever worked during the Christmas season, you're a contingent worker. If you take a temp job because the secretary is out pregnant, that is, you're a contingent worker. Some people use the word seasonal. Some people use contract, however you want to do it. But that is a hiring alternative when you do not have the money to hire somebody full time. So what happens when people get bored at work? You redesign the job. There are 3 main ways you can redesign the job. Number one, we call job rotation. And it is a systematic process of moving people from one position to another. Some people call it cross-training, where everybody knows everybody's job. So that is kind of what we do, and we rotate from job to job to job to job. So everybody knows. And it keeps people from getting bored from doing the same thing every day for the rest of their lives. Second, what we call job enlargement. This is when we give people more responsibilities. Here's your job, but hey, you can also do this. You can add this to it. Job enlargement allows you to hire less people and develop a skill set. The problem is when people develop this huge skill set, you know what usually happens? They leave somewhere else for more money. So you want to be mindful of that. Job enrichment is when I give you decision-making authority. You have increased responsibility, you have decision-making authority, but you're not the manager. What is the problem with this? I'm not the manager, so I don't get paid like the manager, but you want me to do the manager's job. Does that sound like a problem to you? Well, it becomes a problem for a lot of people, so that's something that you want to be mindful of. But what is the reason we deal with job design? Because we do not want people to get bored. When people are bored, they make mistakes. When people are bored, they make mistakes. So we want to rotate people, we want to enlarge their job, we want to enrich their job, whatever we can to keep them from being bored, because then they offer less customer service, and that becomes a problem for us. Now, every 6 months, every year, every 3 months, depending on your job situation, you should appraise people. You should evaluate people. What does it mean to appraise someone? See how valuable they are. What have they contributed to the organization? Why do you want to do a job appraisal? Number one, because you want to discuss performance and set future goals. discuss current performance, and set future goals. This is where you see where they are, because you always want people to work toward where they want to go. So I need to appraise you, like, hey, are you satisfied with your job? How do you feel about this? Do you want more? Do you want less? What is the chance? Like, this happens with honesty. So you want to appraise people on a regular basis. And on the negative side, you do it for documentation, because if someone is not of value to your organization, you need documentation to say, hey, we told you you're not doing a good job. We need you to do better. How are you going to do better? And we outline these things. Beyond that, you want to make sure you have it on paper. You usually get them to sign it. So therefore, for salary, promotion, demotion decisions, you will have some type of background to go. So here's the thing. We're ending chapter 11. We're ending. And I know I'm going through the chapter because I know you're going to go back and read it, right? You're going to go back and read it, right? So here's the thing. How do you get the most out of your employees? The number one thing, constant feedback. I know that's going to be a question. Constant feedback. Making sure you give them constant feedback on your assignments, things of that nature, whatever you ask them to do. Tell them when they're doing a good job. Tell them when they're not doing a good job. Don't just wait to that evaluation. Constantly be in communication with them. Remember, we talked about how important communication is to managers. Be fair. Don't show favoritism. I think number 4 is the crucial point, so I'll spend a little time here paying attention to body language, making sure people are honest with you. Remember, a good manager does what? Listen with his ears, but also with his eyes. So you want to make sure you watch their body language. When they seem like they're no longer engaged in the business, when they seem like they're starting to show up late for work a lot of time. They used to eat lunch together with the group. Now they're setting off to the side. Pay attention to this body language when people are bored. Why? Because you're always worried about your reputation amongst your customers. The more disengaged they become at work, the worse customer service they're going to give, and that hurts your business reputation. So pay attention to your body language. Last thing to remember, the best way to retain workers is to create what we call a positive work environment. Don't think about pay. Think about positive environment. This positive environment is bringing donuts, having coffee, having a break room, having TVs in a break room, comfortable office furniture. Think covered parking, remembering people's birthdays, having happy hour every Friday. Whatever it is, you want to create a positive work environment. Why? Because you don't want people to work and rush out every opportunity they get. You want people to want to be around their coworkers. And if they want to be around their coworkers, guess what'll happen? They'll do better work. So you want to create a positive work environment. Recognize when people make contributions. Involve them in decision making, but create a positive atmosphere. And if you create that positive atmosphere, guess what happens? They'll work harder. And that's what you want to do. That's chapter 11. Hope you got something out of it. Be ready for the test. The test is coming up soon. So watch the videos, read the book, and you should be good to go. Any questions, always hit me up, yo. All right.